actually was in Russia. It was not communist at all. It was fascist, the same thing as Nazi Germany. The point of all of it was that um, the masses had no control over what decisions were being made by people who were taking action. And I appreciate that you're the kind of person that will pick and choose what language you're going to adopt and not adopt. I do the same thing. I will, however, not let somebody come in and tell me how I have to speak from now on. And I will fight to the death for your ability to choose what you're going to be
Oh yeah.
saying as well. And that's really the big distinction here. While you have people at this point who are so distanced from needing to fight for anything, there's never been an assault on, Topeka, Kansas. For some strange reason, that makes all of the wars that have occurred over there, right? Wherever that is.
Mhm.
And what really woke us up was Pearl Harbor being bombed. Who would have thought in advance that that would ever happen?
Yeah.
So where we are right now is, I don't know. I've been kind of curious about this. I think it's an interesting phenomenon. And our choices, yours and mine, even with this podcast and the people who will be listening to it, our reach is not very far.
Mhm.
However, there are other people who have the bully pulpit. They have a tremendous reach, which is why it's so important for people to have millions of followers on Twitter. All of that said, these are just those things, as Arsenio Hall used to say, that make you say, hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I will say, it's funny. I hear lots of, kind of conversation about Germany and, history repeating itself. And, I wonder how diverse was it back then? How multicultural was it? How effectively could they all communicate? I mean, it's like, I look at our country and this is we are such a bunch of freaking angry independent children. How can you can't get anyone to agree on anything. You couldn't even get, if 50% of this country said that shirt is blue, the other half would immediately pronounce it green and call it a conspiracy theory, and before you know it, there'd be all kinds of pop-up businesses and pyramid schemes about, blue not green or whatever. Like, we can't agree on a freaking thing. So, so I guess that makes me very skeptical that there's a way to really control the masses, because all we want to do is disagree on everything.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say yes, and the only people that we hear are from the loud vocal extremes. The silent people in the middle, who are most everybody, get
Yeah.
woken up, and now they're starting to come back out, and they're like, "What's going on around here? We're not happy with this." Well, yeah, we were happy to be quiet while everybody else is making noises, but polls do not represent the people that live in anywhere way, shape, or form. There are so many people that have never responded to a poll in their entire life, and so many
Hmm.
people that are responding to almost every single poll that they're taking. How do you
Yeah.
generalize to millions of people the responses of somewhere between 200 and 1,000 people in the way that you ask the question? And the whole fun part of it is we don't know what people think until we ask. We
Well,
really
yeah,
don't,
yeah, and that is the reality of it. I mean, politically, the election cycles will tell us what people are thinking. That'll speak, and and part of that's being influenced by systems that are in place. But obviously, those can change too. So
What if
so
then they
we shall see.
what if they are totally the product of the system that's in place?
Well, it's still okay, so it is. So, and then things are, I mean, look at certain states right now. They're doing some pretty interesting, policy changes and putting in certain rules and regulations. And I don't care whether you're looking at California or Florida, whether it's more right leaning or left leaning, they're going to do some things, and then that's going to have an impact on people's lives. And when it does, they're going to say something about it. And it's either going to go more in that direction or it's going to change. you know so, and there's definitely a lag, but I think the lag is less as awareness goes up and more people do get plugged in.
Yes.
But I agree with you. I mean, most of the people that I'm working with are really cool contributors doing a lot of balanced things. They're kind of like me, very little social media, very little news, but they're plugged in. They're plugged in to doing things that matter, that can add value to the human experience in as balanced a way as possible. And still some people like it and some people don't. And I get mini canceled all the time. People don't agree with decisions I make, so they don't want to have anything to do with me. That's their privilege. And if they tell their friends don't have anything to do with him, okay, I can't really control that. you know and all I can hope is, if someone hears something that doesn't align with who I've chosen to be in the world, they'll maybe ask me, and then we can have a conversation about it. And if we don't, it's a big world and people flow in and out of it.
I completely agree. And every opportunity that you and I get, I'm going to speak for me right now because I'm still learning who you are after 7 or 8 years, you know? So, and I would never put words in your mouth, but I want people who have been around me to know that they are already loved before I meet them. And that is my way of being in the world. And I am always going to be a human being and misunderstand things from time to time. And I
Mhm.
always appreciate it, as you said, when somebody comes over and says, "Hey, I heard a little rumor," or "Is it true that you said?" And, it's kind of fun to just say, "Well, if it's true, what does that mean to you?
Mhm.
It's not true. What does that mean to you?" You know?
Yeah.
Bringing the curiosity into the conversation to get to know people better and for them to get to know themselves better, as a result, and creating a new level of relationship. And I do have not much more to add to what you said. This is like we get to do this charge through life. It goes by quickly. I mean, I've got
Yeah.
whiplash for what 68 years looks like, being alive. But and the whole idea is, if we get a chance to make the world a better place, as you said, if we get a chance to use our energies to create something new for people who didn't have it before, and to bring
Mhm.
love to a situation where maybe love wasn't present or not recognized or, not in the conversation, I don't think that's so terrible. What do you think?
I don't either. It's funny. Dan Sullivan, he's a strategic coach guy. He's got a consulting company, and he's a cool dude. He's almost 80 now. Plans to live to 150. He lives his life as if he's going to live that long. It's kind of a cool philosophy.
Yeah.
But he was talking with someone about, he'd gotten burned in some kind of business deal or whatever, and someone was like, "Look, shouldn't you be a little bit more cautious and guarded, because people suck. Their motives aren't, you don't know what their motives are." And his response was, he said, "Look, I have one of two choices in life. I can extend trust and then you know deal with the consequences of that, or I can not extend trust and put them through all these qualifiers and then see what happens on the other side of that." And he said, "I'm just going to extend trust." And he says, "Yeah, sometimes I got burned. He's had people steal from him. He's had people betray him, take his stuff, take his money, and but in the end, he likes living his life where he chooses to extend trust first." And it resonated with me because I think, you're hearing it in our conversation today. I just believe in people. I believe in the possibility that they bring to the table. And although it doesn't always work out, and absolutely there are just evil, nasty people in the world, and there are people who will, you know, hurt and betray and all that stuff, I'm just focused on the light. There's light in there somewhere, and I don't know what led them there, and maybe it was genetics, maybe it was environment, maybe some combination of things, but I'm still just going to continue to believe in people and let that influence the way I move through the world, you know?
Completely agree. My philosophy since the 1970s has been, every human being, no matter how misguided or how uh, unapproachable they seem to be, has gold. Okay.
Hmm.
Always find the gold, or make a decision. The gold ain't worth finding in this particular instance, and move on. But give everybody,
Yeah,
the benefit of the doubt in advance. And to be able to be that person, you have to start with a high degree of trust with yourself. You got to
yeah,
be able to trust yourself to be able to deal with powerfully any outcome that can happen. Then you can listen to any sentence that can come out of people's mouths. You can hear them say words that you despise, and you cannot hold them accountable to your definition of those words.
yeah. And it is interesting too, because saying that there's the balance of it, like I would give so much and so much belief that it would exhaust and drain me, and you end up being resented for it. So, so there has to be the time. I learned the hard way. Sometimes you've got to fire them, whether it's in business or in life. It's just, you did your best, and they're just coming from a place where it's unhealthy for both of you, and you need to terminate the relationship,
Sure.
period. And that's rough, especially if you're a believer in people. That's a hard thing to do. But it's also healthy, and it doesn't mean that the relationship might not circle back at some future time. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Again, it's a big world. How many people do you have relationships with out of the 7.5 billion running around?
I'd say I have a relationship with all of them. I haven't met many of them yet.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. But I mean, as far as your more intimate, personal
Sure.
contact, I mean, absolutely the ripple spread. But it's just kind of interesting that people will come in closer into that more inner circle or whatever it is, and then sometimes there will be resonance, and sometimes there won't be. And so you got to be willing to say, this isn't the right circumstance or situation for me, and so I'm going to change the parameters of it, or just end it. Sometimes you have to do that. It's okay.
Amen. And on that thought, just want to remind everybody we have been noodling an idea again for quite a while here. It's been a really
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah,
conversation, Ken. And I look forward to our next, and I look forward to all of you folks at home continuing to send us ideas and energy. And you're going to be hearing this in a different time than we're speaking it, but we're really drawing on all of your thinking and what you're sending us while we're talking right now. So you saw this podcast, you listened to it, and I hope that this brings you your best week ever. And that's it for today. Bye for now.
bye.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, A World That Works, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us each week, as well as the rest of the network, at exvadio.com/podcasts, as well as the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.